present Genius, 0 to 60 in 5 clevers. Here is your host, Dave Gorman.
Hello, I'm Dave Gorman and welcome to Genius, the show all about your ideas. Every week, myself and a celebrity guest will be chewing over inventions, schemes and policies sent to us by you, the Radio 4 listeners, chipping away at the coalface of innovation, hoping to happen upon a few rare gems of genius. And the person whose idea is judged to be the best will be taking home a trophy of rare and precious beauty. Let me tell you, the man who provided this trophy was so sorry to see it go, he was unable to cut keys all afternoon. But which of our ideas will garner this trophy of dreams? To find out, we need the assistance of our celebrity guest. Let me reassure you, ladies and gentlemen, that our guest this evening is certain to recognise genius when he sees it, because not only is he a genius in his own right, but he happens to be married to a genius too. Together, they make up the most formidable presenting duo in Britain. Their style is much copied but never bettered. When millions of Americans watch Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson's halftime entertainment at the 2004 Super Bowl... Most of them were unaware that the headline-grabbing wardrobe malfunction was clearly inspired by my guest appearance at the National Television Awards some 4 years earlier. He's the man who puts the Richard into Richard and Judy. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the genius that is Richard Madeley. Very good to see you, Richard.
Great to be here.
Are there any genius ideas currently lurking in that fertile mind of yours?
We kind of come up with ideas all the time, but we never do anything about them. And then you read in the papers that someone else has got the patent. And Judy and I were once stuck on the M56 in gridlock traffic. And I was able to go and have a pee, because I'm a bloke. And she wasn't, because she's a woman. So she suffered and I had easement. And on the way home, we talked about how you could deal with this, you know. And Judy actually came up with this fabulous idea of a specially shaped funnel and a rubber tube with a little tripod at the bottom. And this would allow women, in certain situations, to pee standing up behind a tree, because if you squat behind a tree, you can see the knees. So we did sketches and wrote it all down. Judy's first boyfriend and fiancé actually works in the patent office. But we did nothing about it, because you don't. And blow me down, a year later, this woman in America had invented it. It's called the funicular. And I'm delighted to say that it bombed.
We should crack on. At the end of the show, I'll be asking you for your 2 favourite ideas, and the audience will judge which is the overall winner. And the first of our potentially genius ideas comes from Alison Saunders from Bethnal Green.
Dear Genius, I think that mobile phones should have built-in breathalyzers so that they stop you phoning ex-boyfriends and bosses when you're drunk.
I have to ask, first of all, was this inspired by a drunken phone call of your own?
Yes, more than once, yes.
Would you like to share with the group?
No.
I just check this out. If I close my eyes and you say the words, "I'm in room 7, can you bring some biscuits?" Could you do that for me?
I'm in room 7, can you bring some biscuits?
No, it wasn't you. It's fine. I just had to check. Richard, what do you think? What's your first impression here?
I can see a few hitches and glitches here. I mean, I don't know about you, but I tend not to phone people when I'm drunk, because I know that they'll know I'm drunk, and that's embarrassing. So what I tend to do is I have a cut-off point when I think I'm not using the voice phone anymore. I'm switching to text. Because you can text anybody when you're pissed. You can check the grammar, you can check the spelling, and it looks fine. The trouble is, the overall content of the message is just so embarrassing in the morning. Do you know that you go down the next morning and you get a message from a friend, let's say Simon, saying, "What?" or, "Ah?" And you think, what's he texting me for? And you go to your sent messages page, and there it is. It's rubbish that you can't even remember typing the night before. So, I mean, do you think you could adapt this so it would stop you texting when you were drunk?
I think it's the whole using your phone.
Oh, fantastic! Then.
Great. Yeah, I'm on. You know, you've just revealed to all your friends that if they're getting a text message from you, it's because you're drunk.
No, they know that. They know that.
Yes, okay, fine.
A text from me after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
Because I would roll this out into all other areas of society. It's not just phones for me. I'd like computers that won't work. And I speak as a man who once bought a hot air balloon on eBay. I'd like cash points to operate on this system. If I'm drunk, I wanted to give me taxi vouchers with my own address printed on them. Well, obviously, you've handled so many phone-ins in your life.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any drunks calling in?
No, but... Well, yes, we did, actually.
I've seen you say we pay.
We did. I never drink before a programme, please.
I'm not accusing you. I say there are complete idiots who win £5,000.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're drunk.
I'm sure I've seen some drunk people on You Say We Pay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, there was a woman... it was the very first one, and she wasn't drunk, but I can imagine you'd think she was. She called from Dunfermline, and about the third image behind us was... well, I won't say what it was. And she described it. She said, it keeps you warm in the winter. We said, oh, right, radiator, blow dry. And she said, no, it's orange and red. We said, coal fire. No, we keep on guessing. And finally I turned around, because we're allowed to cheat after a while. And it was a picture of a hamster. I turned around and I said, it's a hamster. She said, I know. Anyway, we finished the game. She won about £4,000, and... And we never really got to the bottom of it. I don't know what they do to hamsters in Dunfermline in the winter, but...
So, how are you feeling? Is the balance in favour of this?
I think it's a pretty good invention, but it would have to incorporate sort of muddled fingers when you're texting. It would have to be responsive to that you were fumbling a bit, so you were drunk, so it wouldn't allow the text to be sent.
OK, I'm going to take it to decision time, which means that it is time for me to wheel out my catchphrase. My producer wants me to go all showbiz, and he suggested the catchphrase, is it genius or heinous? It's not really my style. So I came up with my own less showbiz version instead. I tried it last week with Paul Daniels, who, let's face it, knows a catchphrase. And I'll be honest with you, it went well. Immediately, my producer starts trying to think of ways to zhuzh it up a bit. He wants me to do it in a kind of Bruce Forsyth version. Right. His precise words were, why don't you nice to see you nice it up a bit?
You're going to go with this, are you?
Well, I don't think enough of them will know it. Okay. If they go with it, then I'm stuck with it. If they don't, I've won the argument and we can carry on as normal in our un-showbiz style. Here we go. Richard.
Yeah.
The mobile phone breathalyzer. Is it genius? Or not?
I'm sorry, what did we just prove?
They want it more showbiz. So is it genius or not?
Yeah, it's genius, yeah.
There you go. Our first genius. Our next idea comes from Steve Logue from Manchester.
Dear Genius, as well as water and gas being piped into homes, how about food too? Food could be prepared at municipal food works and then fed into the food pipe network. Kitchens will have not only hot and cold water, but also a food tap. Obviously, food would need to be of the runny mince variety.
So in your new utopia, there is one food?
I'm not saying you have it every night. It's a standby for when you get home, you look in your cupboards, nothing in, you see the tap, problem solved.
I don't know.
I'm not liking it.
Is there any variety at all? Is there like meat and hummus for the veggies?
Well, it could be mince one day, it could be ratatouille the next. If it flows, it goes.
You're just getting the main course, aren't you? I mean, it's just like, say, getting, stew. You'd still need to prepare your own side dishes, like a baked potato, wouldn't you?
So you're talking a second tap. I hadn't thought of that, but...
Well, even if I was, which I wasn't, I don't want pureed vegetables with my pureed main course.
I'm not saying it's the food for the gods. It's just a standby in an emergency.
It's food for idiots, mate, let's be honest.
There's so much that's revolting about this. I don't know, it's the idea of utilitarian food, the same food for us all, that I find...
Well, it's not necessarily...
I've heard enough.
Well, no, let me put it to you. You could customise it for different areas. You could have vegetarian options, kosher options, depending on the area you're in. Chickpea dal in some areas.
It's insane.
Yeah. A different dish every evening. Breakfast too, porridge in the mornings.
You see, at first I just thought it was a bad idea. And now I'm really worried about you, mate.
See, the thing I don't get is that I've looked at thousands of ideas that have been sent in, and most of them, they've seen a problem in the world, and they've solved it. Often inadvertently creating more problems than they solved. You haven't solved any problems. You've just made something really revolting. I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of cookery items on the shows.
Yeah.
Was your heart always in that? Were you sometimes thinking, oh, go on, let's get back and talk about the hysterectomy? Would this have helped, in other words? You could have cut the cookery item.
No, this wouldn't help anything that I can think of. I've been really trying, because I know you're going to ask the question in a minute.
Yeah.
And I just pity you, really.
Before I ask the question, I'm going to try and persuade you.
Right.
We did get some home economists and plumbers to work on this. They've given us a recipe for your kind of runny mince food. Let me explain. Essentially, for your runny mince, presumably it obviously has to contain all the major food groups. We came up with bread, meat, dairy, and vegetables, which you can get all of in a cheeseburger. If you choose the gherkin. So we're going to blend a cheeseburger now. I'm now pouring a half pint of runny mince.
Don't come near me with that.
Do you have the courage of your own conviction, Steve? I can't make you.
I'm a vegetarian. Doesn't flow.
Sorry?
Doesn't flow, doesn't go. I'll try a bit harder. I'll have a little.
You don't
sip.
have to, Steve, but
It's
let me
my
just put it
idea.
this way.
Oh.
If you don't, you're admitting your own idea isn't genius.
Give us that. Not bad.
Richard,
Yeah.
is it genius?
It's a lunacy.
I'm sorry, Steve, it's bad news. You're not a genius. But thank you anyway. Our next potential genius comes from Frodsham in Cheshire and is called Paul Watkinson.
Dear Genius, I would like to suggest a policy of always walking to the left of oncoming pedestrians. This would prevent the annoying and somewhat embarrassing left-right shuffle that occurs when two pedestrians are about to walk into each other. This could be spread by means of a public information commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel a frisson of excitement to my left.
I like it. I am liking it. There, again, I can see an immediate drawback. I mean, you know what teenagers are like. It's set a rule, they'll break it. You'd have games of chicken going up and down the high street within days of this happening. But that aside, I love the idea of finally getting rid of that double shimmy, triple shimmy, quadruple shimmy that we all do. The social embarrassment is huge. I think we need to talk about it, but I think we could have something here.
See, I like that embarrassment.
Do you?
I think embarrassment is good for you. It instills humility. I think it's what English people do best. I'm a fan of that.
So for that reason, you'd throw out a perfectly sensible idea to maintain pavement safety?
Whenever that left, right happens, I've never ever seen that happen without it ending in a smile. There's always a giggle. People always get on with each other when it's for that brief moment you're interacting with another human being. These are the few little rare moments where strangers interact.
Where do you walk? Have you ever walked in Romford, where I was born? I was born there. I can talk about Romford. Yeah, I was born there.
Romford lad, done well, got a pool.
What if you're standing on the curb? Yeah, you're walking along the curb,
Yeah.
and there's nowhere to go on the left-hand side. You're on the right-hand side of the street, but on the left-hand bit of the curb. Yeah. What do you do? What happens there? What's the code?
Just have to dodge the traffic, I presume.
Fair enough. One of you's always got somewhere to go.
That's true.
So if you've got to go to the road, the other person naturally...
Yeah, it works. We're back on track.
I don't know. How much time is it really going to save?
It's only the last few seconds when the collision is imminent. That's when you make your sudden left move.
Yeah. You see,
Go on.
it's just we're going to save not even man hours, but man minutes
Or seconds.
will be saved each year. Time for all of Britain to make a sandwich. I struggle with it. Richard's clearly leaning to it, which is good news, because we did contact an advertising agency about this. You said you'd like public service announcements to represent the idea. We rang an advertising agency, we ran it past them, said, what would you suggest? They said, you want to get a man that the British public trust, someone they regard as a friend, but who still has some sense of authority, the kind of person they invite into their living room 5 days a week. He suggested Richard Madeley. They came up with a script. This is the advertising agency's script. Richard, seeing as you seem to be leaning in favour of the idea, if it gets legs, if people go with it, let's get this announcement recorded now. Let's get it in the can, and just see if this kind of announcement you had in your mind.
Okay. Hello, I'm Richard Madeley, and I'd like to talk to you about pedestrian confusion. Every year in Britain, hundreds of man-minutes are lost through needless pedestrian indecision. All of this could be avoided if we all simply agree to step to the left of approaching pedestrians. Let's keep Britain's pavements flowing. Come on, Britain, think right. Step left.
I feel like the audience tonight are going to go away with this already instilled within them after a message like that. I think you've already persuaded hundreds of people to your idea.
I think some sort of uniform as well could look good.
A uniform?
Yeah, with a cape. Sorry.
Who was...
Oh, for Richard, you mean?
Yes, a cape.
Like the Green Cross Code man?
Exactly,
The step left guy? Nice.
I have to go now.
Let's get to it. Is the step left policy, Richard, is this genius?
I think it could be genius.
Yes. We're taking that as a yes. You are a genius. It's been decreed. So, it's time for our next idea, and this one comes from Adam Hampton from Kilburn.
Dear Genius, I have a plan for the big picture. I'm talking world harmony. The idea is this. We divide the world into a number of zones, each with its own specific moral laws. So if you live in a zone where murder, for example, is not permitted, and you're proven to be a murderer, then you're automatically sent to the zone where murder is legal. You cannot argue, as by your actions you have demonstrated where your moral boundaries lie. You're simply being moved to a place where you can live your life to the moral guidelines you've set yourself. Of course, you might get murdered, but that's the price you pay for being a murderer.
My first thought is, that's how Australia started. They're the winners. It's sunny. Richard, how do you feel?
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? I mean, you'd pick your crime to suit the weather, wouldn't you?
We'd judge it so that the murdering zone wouldn't be an attractive place to go.
Where would the murder zone be?
Romford.
You see, it isn't that simple, for a start. The place has to be able to accommodate the number of murderers that exist in the world.
Yeah. But what I'm thinking is these boundaries would be fluid, so that after a while it'd be deterrent, because no one would want to go to the murder place. So it'd get smaller and smaller and smaller, until after a while it wouldn't exist, because everyone would learn their lesson.
How would you... would there be zones for trivial things, like speeding?
Possibly.
I mean, if you...
How fast are you going?
Well, I mean, some people drive too fast. Would you send them to Italy?
Let's get practical here.
Okay.
If this is actually going to work, you need places which can accommodate the number of people that you're talking about. Right. So I've got a calculator, and it was very hard. We tried to find out how many murderers there were in Britain. The best we could get was there was a book from 2003 that said there are about 3,600. Okay, and I've got a list of all of the world's populations here at the moment. United Kingdom, we have 60,441,457. So if I work out how many people per person are a murderer, what's the percentage of Britain
is this going to take long, mate?
It'll take a little while. I've got pretty swift fingers. There we go. It's a very small number. But now if we multiply that by the world's population, it's just a rough estimate. If the world is pretty much like Britain, if there are about the same number of murderers across the world, this is how many it will be. Okay, so we multiply that by 6,446,131,400. It's just an estimate. You get approximately 383,938 murderers in the world. Okay? So now you've got to look through the list of countries to find which country can comfortably accommodate around 390,000 people. And you get two choices, I believe. Malta or Brunei. That's where they'd have to go. You can't just choose arbitrarily.
But I'm thinking we get rid of countries altogether and we just redraw them up with other new zones.
Have you spoken to the UN about this?
They won't return my calls.
Would these be life transportations, or could you come back?
It'd be up for debate.
Whose?
Well, I think...
You've not thought this one through, have you?
The main problem is it requires a dictator. And it was my idea.
I really struggle with this, I really do. Is it really fair that Darren Day has to live by himself in the Isle of Wight? Morality is a grey area. I mean, how many distinctions do you make? Are there going to be separate worlds for people who kill but don't drop litter? How are these things going to be worked out?
It would be quite complicated, but I'm sure I'd have lots of time. I'm thinking I might have a moon base with an army of robots to move people.
Before you left the house this evening, what computer game were you playing? Richard, morality world zoning. Is this genius?
Or not? It's evil genius.
It's perfectly allowable. We do allow evil genius. It's fine. Our final idea comes from Will Mayer of Southwold.
Dear Genius, how about mini elephants as pets? If I could genetically engineer elephants the size of cats, they would become the pet of choice for the whole world. Imagine giving the little guys a bath as they squirt themselves with their little trunks. Plus, they've got good memories. Elephants have good memories. They're vegetarian, and their excrement is dry, so if they make any mess on the floor, you can just pick it up. No nasty stains.
I think, as we sit at the dawn of the age of genetic engineering, this young man has something.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could have an elephant flap, couldn't you? Have you put the elephant out tonight, love? Yeah.
Well, they've got trunks, they can open the door themselves. I mean,
Well, how tall would you think they'd be?
Well, they're about a foot long,
Yeah.
you know, slightly...
Presumably, the smaller an animal... I mean, the elephants move slowly because they're so big and they weigh so much, but presumably these little elephants, they could sprint a bit. So you could take them down with the dogs and you could have novelty elephant races.
I wasn't sure how people were going to react to this idea, but as you said it, the female half of the audience, there was an audible...
I mean, we like miniaturisation.
And half the audience crossed their legs. It was the most... their hearts melted.
And if you had a log fire, you could train...
You could hoover.
You could train them to bring the logs in their trunks.
You've got to be... You can't just say, let's genetically engineer them as if it's a simple thing. Let's get practical.
Well, I think there's two problems. I mean, the public are quite sceptical towards genetically modified organisms, and it's probably impossible. But I think, I mean, doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Listen, we've got Shetland ponies, they're genetically engineered.
Less
We've got Chihuahua dogs. They come from a wolf. Listen, don't knock your own idea. It's not that technical. We can do this.
Are you suggesting I breed an elephant with a Shetland pony?
No. Now, you see, for a minute there, I thought you were a genius for a minute there, but now you think I'm suggesting that Shetland ponies and elephants mate. No, I'm not saying. But where would they sleep at night? I mean, you wouldn't have a kennel, would you, or a basket? A little miniature jungle in the corner of the kitchen?
Elephants sleep for about 2 hours a day. That's all they do. And they sleep standing up. Mm-hmm. So I think for 2 hours, coffee table. That would work. There's something in that. They are going to be big animals. Even they're heavy, even if you scale them down. Yep. The African elephant, 13 feet tall, about 8 tons. The Asian elephant, about 9 feet tall, 4 tons. There is actually a thing called the Borneo pygmy elephant, which sounds exciting, but it's 8 feet tall. But it's a separate elephant. They exist. If you're scaling them down to maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, you're still looking at half a ton of elephant. If that wants to go for a run on Hampstead Heath, you're not stopping it.
That's true.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm trying to look on both sides of the coin
but
here.
You mean they can do tasks around the house? They could hoover. They can carry stuff. I mean, there's no fur allergies there, so we don't have to worry about that.
But there's no fur. It's like stroking a bald man's head.
Some people pay for that. I mean,
I've tried that. It's not fun.
We could supply sort of aloe vera with every elephant, keep it quite soft and moist. I mean,
I'm with the women in the audience on this one. I mean, can you imagine the fun of having a little dinner party and your elephant's under the table and people are feeding it little tiny buns that they brought with them specially, titsy little buns, and its little trunk's tickling your leg. Can I have some more, please?
Jeannie would love one.
She'd love a little...
Exactly.
Listen, I'd love one.
I'm being persuaded. I
make
am
you
being
one.
brought round, and when they die, enough ivory to make a couple of chess pieces.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the positive for you. I am fighting for it. I don't know. To me, they're not furry. That's the main thing I would require in a pet. I want to stroke a furry animal, but everyone else... I do! That's the main benefit of any pet. It's the stroking. It feels good. But the rest of you seem... I don't know. I think I know which way it's going. Richard, mini elephants as pets. Is it genius?
Pure genius.
OK, Richard, we've gone through a number of ideas and you've already declared some of them to be genius. Now I need you to select your favourite 2 ideas.
It's a tough choice, but I think it's got to be the mobile phone breathalyzers and the miniature elephants.
OK, then I would like to invite Alison Saunders and Will Mayer to take to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, all those in favour of the mobile phone breathalyzer? And all those in favour of mini elephants as pets? The needle is literally not even on the dial. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm presenting the Genius Trophy to Will Mayer. There you go, we have our genius, but we just have time for a few suggestions from tonight's studio audience, which include pavement-coloured chewing gum, chewing gum-coloured pavements, and man flaps, which are essentially cat flaps big enough for a man, or in other words, a door. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Dave Gorman, his name is Richard Madeley. Thank you very much, and good night.
Genius was hosted by Dave Gorman.